The rain fell like shattered glass over the stone courtyard, glistening under the dim lanterns. Every drop echoed against the silence of the night, carrying the weight of unspoken history. And there he stood. A lone royal guard, dressed in a scarlet coat, his boots pressed into the ground as if he were rooted to the earth itself. His name was Sir Adrian Vale. For 30 years, he had served with one oath. Protect the crown, no matter the cost. But tonight, his oath would be tested in ways he had never imagined. At 2 a.m., a messenger rushed into the royal quarters, whispering of betrayal. One of the crown's most trusted advisors had plotted with foreign forces. The palace was in danger, not from an enemy at the gates, but from traitors within the walls. The traitors weren't faceless enemies. They were men Adrian had trained with, eaten with, laughed with. Brothers in arms. One of them was Captain Rowan, his closest friend, who had fought beside him in the desert wars. Rowan believed the king had lost his vision and that the kingdom needed new leadership. Adrian, Rowan whispered in the shadows of the barracks that night, stand with us. The old ways are dying. Don't chain yourself to loyalty. Chain yourself to progress. Adrian's heart broke. He could not ignore the corruption that had crept into the court, but betrayal was a poison he refused to drink. Loyalty is not blind obedience, it is choosing principles over convenience. The coup began at dawn. Blades clashed in the marble halls. Guards who once shared bread now drew swords against each other. Adrian fought with precision, his movements like a storm, calm at the center, deadly at the edges. Every strike was not for glory but for duty. But in the middle of the chaos, he came face to face with Rowan. Brother, don't do this. Rowan pleaded, his sword trembling. You swore the same oath I did, Adrian replied. And I swore to truth, not to dying kings. Their blades met. It wasn't just steel against steel, it was loyalty against ambition, discipline against rebellion, principle against compromise. When the fight ended, Rowan lay defeated, not dead. Adrian spared him, not out of weakness, but out of courage. Courage is not just about fighting enemies, it's about mastering yourself in the face of rage. The king survived the coup, but the palace was scarred. Lives were lost. Trust was shattered. Adrian stood before the king, armor dented, blood on his sleeve, not his own, but of those he had once called brothers. The king offered him riches, land, and retirement. But Adrian shook his head. My reward, he said, is not gold or titles. My reward is knowing that when the storm came, I did not bend. He handed his sword back to the king. His duty was fulfilled. His chapter as a royal guard was closed. And with nothing but the clothes on his back, Adrian left the palace walls, choosing to rebuild his life, not as a servant of the crown, but as a servant of truth. True discipline is knowing when to hold on, and when to let go. Adrian's life after the palace was harder than war. He was no longer Sir Vale, royal guard. He was just a man. He worked the fields, taught children discipline through fencing, and built a school of leadership. His lessons were simple but profound. Young men and women traveled from villages to learn from him. He taught them not just how to hold a sword, but how to hold themselves with dignity in a world that constantly tested their integrity. Years later, the king passed away, and his son rose to the throne. One day, a messenger came to Adrian's humble school. The new king did not summon him as a guard, but as a teacher. You kept the kingdom alive, the young monarch said. Now, help me build a future on the values you lived. Adrian realized something profound, his true duty had never been to the crown. It had been to people, to inspire resilience, courage, and integrity that could outlive any throne. Standing before his students, Adrian declared. Titles fade. Thrones crumble. But discipline, loyalty, sacrifice, and courage, these are eternal. They are not just the armor of a soldier, they are the armor of every human being who wants to rise in life. When you choose principle over shortcuts, courage over fear, resilience over comfort, you become your own guard. You protect not a king, not a crown, but your destiny. And with that, the last royal guard found his greatest victory. Not in battle, but in becoming a living lesson of what it means to lead. My friends, Adrian's story is not just about a guard, it's about you, me, and everyone striving to protect their dreams. Your loyalty is to your vision. Your discipline is your shield. Your courage is your sword. So, the next time life tests you, ask yourself, will I bend, or will I stand tall like the royal guard? If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that will guard your heart, sharpen your mind, and ignite your spirit.